and thank you for joining another episode. And today's guest is a person that don't need an introduction, but I'm gonna give you anyway one. So we have John Kern, one of the signatories of the Agile Manifest. And John, it's amazing have you here today. And I would really thank you for giving this time to us. And it's a great opportunity to have this talk with you, one of the 17 original signatories from Agile Manifest. So thank you so much.
Oh, my pleasure. It's wonderful to be here. It's nice. I like the size of the audience, the crowd. You have more intimate, get more chances to have conversations with everybody.
Good to know. And I would like to take this opportunity to talk about the Agile journey. So I'm gonna ask a question back into the later 90s. So can you share with us how was the atmosphere or the main challenges or maybe frustration with software development methods at that time that led you together in Snowbird?
Yeah, that's a good question to ask because oftentimes the audiences are young.
It's true. True. It's not my case, but it's true.
Like, wow. But they don't even know what was going on back then. I had been doing Defense Department work and like DoD consulting up until 1995 when I created my own company. But prior to that, about 10 years in a DoD consulting firm where I learned things like there's a military standard specification for doing software. And some of the projects that we were working on, you're supposed to follow this. And I was like, wow, this is stupid.
A lot of things. I remember a lot of documentation.
Yeah, MIL standard, right?
Yes,
2167.
Totally.
It might have had its place here and there. But to me, kind of as a taxpayer, why should I do something just because it's in this document, right? I mean, so I exercised my own judgment, kind of created a way to deal with sort of the need to pretend to do some of the heavyweight stuff, but try to do it as cheaply as possible. You know,
okay.
A little bit of the, what are they going to do? Say you need more pages or something. So it really drove me to create what I would say is a simple, lightweight process. And I think I was also beginning in the early 90s. I met Peter Code and started doing more object-oriented. I mean, I'm not a software guy. I'm an aeronautical engineer that just happened to use software to get things done.
Okay.
So I learned C, and then I was learning C++ and things like that. And the relationship that he was like my object-oriented mentor. And part of the process that he created was called feature-driven development.
I remember.
So I kind of became a disciple of both XP and FDD in my own practice, feature-driven development and XP. And, that there just happened to be a lot of other folks that were around doing different kinds of methodologies that were, I would say, competing might be too strong a word, but the big elephant in the room or the big 800-pound gorilla was rational unified process, and another heavyweight process. I would tell people, well, I read the book and it says I can tailor it, so I could tailor that process to be my lightweight process, but most people didn't. It was a lot like SAFe, beautiful diagrams,
I had adopted in a company that I was working on at that time, and it's really, we can relate with SAFE that we have nowadays.
Yeah.
It's pretty similar.
Wonderful thing for a lot of times companies would throw some acronym. Hey, can you support us with some kind of an acronym? And I could find it in the RUP CD. It was like much like SAFE. It was a nice collection of almost like a software, book of knowledge type thing. But it was also heavily, I would say probably the most heavily marketed. So you had waterfall and you had RUP. So you had these giant processes that were, I would say, kind of gaining most of the attention. And there were a handful of methodologists like Peter Code and FDD and Kent Beck and Company and XP. And, I only learned about Scrum up on the mountain, never heard of it. Or DSDM, never heard of it. Ari came, from across the pond. So, yeah, that's kind of the situation that we were in was there were a handful of us doing lightweight methodologies. And, the kind of the state of the industry was there's
what motivates you most to gather. Okay. And I have a curiosity. When you signed the Agile Manifesto, did you believe that you were launching a movement that currently is? Or you were really focused on the main problem at that moment, that it was software development method?
Yeah, the story that I tell myself is it was a bunch of, mostly, not all, a lot of object-oriented folks. And what do we do for a living? We're pretty good at looking across a landscape of, the problem domain and sort of distilling the gist or the essence of the problem. And I feel like this was an opportunity that I believe Alistair might have been the first one that wanted to do it, but he talked to Uncle Bob and maybe they both wanted to do it. So it kind of, and then they sent out emails, I guess. But there was in my mind, a sense of, I wonder what these different methodologies have in common. It's kind of how I think of it, is in the early part of the days. We were there, I don't know, 2 or 3 days, I forget. We shared, kind of our way of working. So that's when we learned. And I do have some artifacts up on my Flickr account, which is, you might have to find it, and it won't be easy. But I took notes, and I had those notes. I still have those notes from.
Oh, nice!
Yeah, they're in my attic.
Do you have any picture that?
Yeah, I have them uploaded. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So you could see what the original agenda was.
Oh, great.
That Alistair, typed out. And then as people were, you see my notes about what I thought Scrum was, or XP or things like that. So it's kind of interesting to see, what was going on. I remember a few of the events, like Martin Fowler leading some discussions. But it's really, I think it was trying to find what we had in common, and maybe a little bit like, hey, let's form the EU to combat the size of the American market, right? So it's a little bit like, let's form, from a bunch of little methodologies to combat the big,
and combine
the heavier ones, and find out what do we have that's similar, because there was adaptive, and there was, I don't know, I had Crystal, Alistair had Crystal, and Jim had adaptive, and so there were a handful.
Yes, there is a bunch of options that we could pick up and start to work. And thinking about the current challenge that Agile is facing, in your opinion, what is the biggest misunderstanding or misusage of the principles that you had launched with the Agile Manifesto that you are seeing in the companies nowadays?
Well, I'll start early on. So I don't know if I fully answered. I don't think anybody had any expectation that
It was something that happened.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
So I'll come back to the sort of some maybe misunderstandings or misinterpretations.
Mm-hmm.
But I would also say that one of the this is not what happened, but this is a way that I kind of describe that this is 2001 February. It's not even late 2000. The internet was, barely a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And my way of describing it, it would be like Ward Cunningham, who ended up publishing it, was on his way out the door with his luggage.
Mm-hmm.
And he turned back to the rest of us and said, "You think we should publish this?" And we're kind of like, "Yeah, why not? We got 4 bullets."
I got it.
No, that didn't happen.
It was our initial intention. It's happened, the publication.
Yeah. And I think Uncle Bob was looking for a kind of a manifesto sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's not like we knew we had this amazing thing and, have to, I don't know. One of the beauties, I think, of that event is because only when you look back on it do you realize it was pretty monumental.
Yeah.
But when you were there, we're just skiing and drinking and meeting once in a while. And some people...
It was a gathering to build something better.
And like who knows what would come of it. So I want to... It's probably hard for people to think that way, knowing how that we're still talking about it. But I don't recall anybody knowing that this was going to be a great hit. So at any rate, I just want to kind of make that clear that it really was an organic thing that happens.
Nice.
But as to some of the, let's say, the misinterpretations early on, especially with the, while we value the things on the right, we value the things on the left more, right? The working software over documentation. Some people interpreted the or as
black or white
instead of. It's like, no, that's not right either. So there was initially some, let's say, abuse. People making up that, oh, cool, we don't need to do documentation or things like that. So I would say that was probably some of the early misinterpretations and abuse. And I can tell you what I think of the current abuse. But.
Interesting. And now that we see, not just in software development, but in cross company, we have in HRs, in marketing, and so on. Would you add any other principle? Would you change something? Or maybe not?
Yeah, my answer to that is always no.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's a logical question, but I feel like we struck an amazing resonant frequency, and that's kind of not to be played with in some sense. A little bit like our Declaration of Independence. If you read just the first few sentences, it's powerful and stands the test of time. Because what I really think we got to, not so much the gist of how do you do lightweight. That was what it was initially called. You can see I actually have some photos of the original the request, and it was lightweight methodologies. But somebody, I think Alistair said, nah, nobody wants to be called a lightweight.
It's true.
But I lost my train of thought. But I think, where was I going with this?
Yes. I was asking if you would add any additional principle or value.
Yeah, so the gist, right. So what did we get to? I think more than the understanding the methodologies per se, we got to the gist of software development in general, or possibly to your point that it's beyond that now, except ours has the word software in it. But I think it gets to the sense of what it really means to try to build something of value. And that is probably the most powerful reason why I think it will continue to stand the test of time, because it really is, if you can sort of wave away some of the software, because HR, Agile HR, working software, what does that mean? Well, I don't know. Change the word software to your world. That's what it means.
Yes.
It means actually working, supporting the people over comprehensive documentation. So, I think it really has to do with how to better collaborate. The first value, individuals and interactions. That's really the essence.
I totally agree. I had written an article talking about to be careful with agile silos. Agile marketing, HR marketing. No, it's for the company, right? I think that's this message that you are sharing with us, and I totally believe in that. So it's more than silos, agile silos.
Yeah, that's a good way to think of it, right? If that sort of another way to think about it is it applies sort of recursively. Yeah, and
makes total sense.
And yes, the organization has a mission and a purpose and what value means. Yeah, and if you can, not everybody's able to get to that level of understanding, because the silos exist for a reason. But
for a long time,
that's another way to think of it.
Yes. Well, I could talk about this all day, but times fly. So I have a final question to you. So I would like your opinion or your predictions about the Agile from now. So do you think that Agile the term Agile is become something good business, modern management, or something like that? Do you think that we are going to still have separately Agile and other things, or even there is a risk of the term Agile die?
That's a good question. And predicting the future is hard.
I totally agree with you, but I really want to know about your perception.
My gut says, for those in the know, agility will be forever. It's a way of being. It's a pragmatic approach to getting stuff done. And those who mistakenly call out something that's not agile as if it's agile, like a lot of times people bash agile on LinkedIn, and usually when you see what they're complaining about, it's like they're complaining about some horrible implementation of Scrum. Like, well, that ain't agile. So the fact that we put it out in public, it's free to be abused, confused. I don't know. I think maybe we need to do more marketing, because there are plenty of people that still haven't read the manifesto.
It's true.
And it's kind of shocking
it's true. Younger people has not seen.
Right.
It's true.
Yeah. I was just talking to a group on Monday, and it's kind of like, wow.
Yes.
Okay, so you haven't read it yet. Well, there's your homework assignment. Let's just go read that. But I admit it's hard to digest at the first go.
It's true. It's true, because you read, but it's not so.
What does that mean? What do I do?
Yes.
So I'm not saying it's simple, or
totally.
But I still think that in the hands of those who understand its power, it's really embrace it, live the values. Where agility flourishes, I submit that business flourishes.
Makes total sense. Thank you so much again for your time. And I hope that you have enjoyed as much I had enjoyed. And see you in the next episode. And thank you.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
My pleasure.